Now I want to take you through the most used tools for color grading, okay? And it doesn't go in any order. I'm just going to show you different ones. So let's just start off with our primary correction. So I'm going to go to our primary wheels and get the image somewhere half decent. I'm going to bring my scopes back for you guys so you guys can see what's happening. Let's keep that somewhere around here. Let's lift it up just a little bit, and then let's start creating some contrast, and let's pull this up. I don't want to crush it. Bring the highlights down a little bit, give it more contrast, and then I'm going to pick it up a little bit more, and I'm going to bring my gain down a little bit because I told you guys this is where the juice is at. So you got to keep it somewhere around there, and you want to see the juice. Here it comes. Now we're going to add saturation, and again we're going to just keep it somewhere around, even if we keep it around 70-ish for now, we're starting to see some separation. What happens if we go more? I think we can live somewhere around here. So now we're starting to see some details, some information here. So I'm going to show you my first tool. So here, let's just say if we want to start creating some qualifiers. So I say, you know what, I want to grab all of this. I want to grab like all the dirt and then start giving it some color. So we know that the dirt is more saturated than this area. So then in our qualifier, we can go, hey, don't grab anything that's not saturated. And now that we got that, we can go here to our blur radius and just like really clean it up. And then we can even add some denoise a little bit. And now we can see that it's a pretty clean key. It just picked up everything. And I was using my highlights right here, guys, by the way. So now that we have selected this is what that is. And this node, I can go, you know what? I want to give it like a lot of color, like red, like just picture Mad Max. So you can just really push it, and now if I just do before and after, we only affected that area. So that was using qualifier, and we're going to be using a lot of qualifiers, right? So like if I just do a complete before and after, see, 2 nodes, super quick, primaries, and then that. I didn't need to use any LUT. And this is super clean and it holds up. Let's just play it through. Watch it. It's holding up, okay? I'm here to just tell you how easy color grading is, and that's why everything up until this point is very important, because you won't get this unless you got everything else in this masterclass. So now that we gave it a really solid color and created so much separation, I'm going to show you another super useful thing, which is parallel nodes. So parallel mixer is amazing. I can create it multiple different ways. I just created it with a keystroke, and you must have seen it down here, but you can right click on it and say add node, add parallel. You got parallel mixer, you got layer mixer, and you got your key mixer. Mostly I'm going between layer and key mixer. Layer mixer is great with footage that's shot in RAW. This is shot in RAW, and it's 12-bit, image and very log. Like we can do whatever. We can create layer mixer, but you need to understand the difference between layer and parallel mixer. The reason why I tend to use parallel mixer is that parallel mixer combines and it blends, and layer mixer adds on top of whatever is happening. So if I would have used layer mixer, this node becomes the primary node. You can almost picture it as like the node above if I was using a layer mixer, and then anything that happens here is negated by that node unless you create a window or a qualifier or something like that, and then anything that's not covered in that qualifier is gonna be affected here. And I'm gonna give you an example in a minute, but let's just focus on the parallel mixer first. So all you need to know about parallel mixer is that it blends everything. So now what I want to do is I want to grab this asphalt, this entire track. I want to grab that. I don't want to grab everything else. And now we're going to do the opposite. So before we said, give us less saturation so we can only grab the dirt. This time I'm going to say get rid of more saturation so we can only focus on lower saturated parts. So if I do that, like, look how easy it was. And understanding these things obviously helps a lot, like as you can see how much it's helping me here. And I can go in here. Something like that is looking pretty clean, and then what I can do is just grab the highlights and even lower that from the top, so I don't want to grab the top at all. And then again, just go heavy on your blurs if you want your keys to be smooth and not break. And now what I can do is I'm going to show you another very popular technique. If you want to make something super crisp and just pull out the cast like this, you know, green tint that's sort of casted here, warm tint, there are multiple different ways we can, you know, take care of it. Resolve gives you so many different options, but the one that I use with asphalt, since I work on so many car commercials, Color Boost. This is the sauce right here. If I grab this and if I pull it back, look what it's doing. It's genuinely giving me the color of the track that we're used to seeing in commercials and things like that. And obviously you can just split the difference. You don't have to go that hard. So even that, it takes the sting out. You get what I'm saying? It gives you a very clean, pristine, like, way to just get rid of that and get a clean in, and then you can build off of that. But the beautiful thing about parallel nodes is that they blend in, so everything is going to be a nice thing that we can play off of and work around and, you know, take it in whichever direction we want. And now I'm going to give you an example of a layer mixer and when to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new version here. I'm actually gonna do this. So I'm going to convert this into a layer mixer, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to reset it. And I'm gonna see, so this doesn't matter. See what I was saying about layer mixer? So in layer mixer, the bottom node is the top node and the top node is the bottom node. So it's a little weird to understand the concept, but just look what happens. If I hold down Option and if I drag these parameters from that node onto a new node, and then I can go in here and I can reset this. Now this is giving me the same result we were getting with our parallel mixer. But there's a big difference, and the difference is this. In parallel mixer, it blends everything, all the layers. In layer mixer, it adds everything or subtracts. So what I mean is that everything that was selected here, it's gonna not touch that at all, and anything that I do here is gonna be outside of that. So just watch what happens. If I go in this node and I go, now I want to create a really cool look. So I want to go in here in my Color Boost again, and I just want to pull the color. I just want to make it like almost like a Sin City sort of effect. And I just want to pull all these colors and just leave the color in here. But then you would go, man, come on, like the actual product is the car, so let's just give, you know, back the juice in the car at least, because that's literally the selling point. So then I'll go, okay, that's fine, let's create another layer node. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say let's create another layer node, and then in this node I'm going to go, all right, let's pick this green and let's see how good of a job it's doing. It's not doing an amazing job, so we can do something like that. Now it just picked all that green, and then we can go pick even more. So it did a pretty good job, and then I'll give it some blur. So now what's happening is that if I turn this on and off, see what's happening. It gave me my car back. So now we got our car back, now we got this dirt back, and then everything else just the color is pulled out. So if you're really going for a cool look, you can do that, because now I can go in here and I can actually create really cool and fun looks too. So I'm just gonna use that opportunity to move on to another thing that I want to show you. So RGB curves. You go into your curves right here, and that's another tool that's very useful and heavily used for looks. You have to unlink it. By default it's linked, so all it's going to do is just change everything. So we want to unlink this, and now what we can do is I can come here and go to my blue and pull this down, and let me just show you what's happening on here too so you can see. And I can say, just give this whole image a cool warm look, but sort of like a monotone, like warmth, not, you know, all the colors that we had before. And then maybe just give it a little bit more red. And now if I disable this node on and off, you can see the difference. So now we're starting to create a really fun look. And then I can always go and say, give me like teal vibes in the lower areas, but then give me red up top. And then I can balance out my blues, and then I can go in my magenta and just see how that plays out. You know, leave it somewhere around here if you like. Now if I do before and after, you're seeing what we're doing, and that's just literally 2 seconds of messing around with this stuff. And now if I do a complete before and after, or just what we did with our parallel and layer mixer nodes before and after. So this is the power of layer mixer, is really crazy because you can create really stunning looks, but it's sort of abrupt, and you really have to be, just make sure that you're using it with footage that's well lit and is shot properly. It's shot with high-end camera. I would recommend minimum 12-bit image for layer mixer, and 16-bit is perfect. But if you don't have that, then parallel mixer is your buddy. You can still go places and do similar things like this, but everything is going to be blending in, and it's going to be a lot more gentle. So those are the differences between the two techniques. And now we just got to see RGB curves. And now another thing that I want to show you is, let's just keep working off of this. So I'm going to create another version, and I want to give you an example for printer lights. So I'm just going to get rid of these three. And now what I want to do is create a new node. And then printer lights are right here in your primaries bars, or you can access them up here, activate printer lights, and then hotkeys, and then it's available on your numpad. I'm just going to show you everything on screen. So we're going to mess with these, but there's a lot more options, because right now I'm just using RGB, but on your numpad you get cyan, you get the secondary colors too. So here we're just going to stick with what we got here. Okay, if I look at this image and I go, you know what, I think I can bring up my blue just a little bit more. I can go in here and I can just look what's happening in my scope. So I'm lifting it, and I can go, yeah, just park it somewhere around here. It's super subtle, but it's just giving you an example of like what can happen if we want to create a look, and if we bring our blue down, and if we want to bring our red down to kind of give it that cyan look. So see, we're doing that. We brought these down and we were able to create that look very easily. So we're going to be using, look how nice the road looks. I actually really like this look. A lot of the film looks are dialed in by using printer lights, because it just puts you in that really cool ballpark. Because just look at that, like in movies, you can see this, but a lot of the times it has like a little like green undertones. And we were able to get there very easily with printer lights just by doing a couple of things, and it's available right here in your primaries bars. Another thing you need to know is your log wheels. They are really important. So let's just say you're working on something. I'm going to delete this node. Let's just say you're working on something for broadcast, and the director is like, dude, just push it. Just grab these whites and just hit the top with it. If you just use your gain and lift it, like it's going to lift everything, and it's going to take so much color out of your mid-tones, and that's not necessarily what you want, because you want to live in this world. You just want to take your specular highlights and you want to just pop them up to the top, and one way to do it is by using your log wheels, because they're more controlled. So if I take my highlights here and lift it, look what's happening compared to if I would have done it a different way. It's keeping, like, look, it's keeping so much of the meat where it was before, but it's just taking everything else and raising it. And obviously this is getting a bit hot, so I'll bring it down. I'll keep it somewhere around here, But even around here, like before, now it looks so dull. Like if you look at what we had before to now, we just gave it so much more life, and that came to life. And color grading is all about these little nuances, and that's what's going to make the difference. So log wheels are very, very beneficial and very powerful for doing things like that, and it can get you there very easily, very fast. And so that was the example of log wheels, and we're going to be using that throughout this module. And now I want to talk about one of my other favorite feature, which is hue versus hue. I absolutely love it. This is just use it and abuse it. Do whatever the hell you want with it. This thing is amazing. I'm going to do this. Let's go to this shot, or this shot, create a new version, get rid of this. And now we're here. And I go, you know what? Let's give it more saturation. So let's just go in here and pop it. Just give it as much saturation as we can. Now that we have this saturation, this much saturation in the image, what I want to do is I can go, hey, grab my yellow and let's just start fiddling with my hue, and I want it to go a little bit more toward red than yellow. So I can start doing this and just look what's happening. And I can go, you know what? This is already looking better. From that to that, I can say, I like that. This looks cool. And then I can, in the same one or in a different node, I can create another serial node and go, you know what? Pick this green. And then here's the tip. Usually it picks it very tight, and you don't want that because you might see some artifacts. So what I do is I click on this guy, and then anytime you click on it, it's gonna like change saturation or hue wheel. So what you want to do is just double tap on that so it resets it. So I'm gonna go somewhere around here and then double tap that. I'm gonna grab this and go somewhere around here, and I'm gonna double tap that, and then I'm gonna come to my middle wheel and I'm gonna go now where I want to take this car. So I want to give it a little bit more green, because to be honest with you, the car had a bit more green like that. I shot this footage, so it was more like that. So just look, we were able to pull that color without qualifier. And this is very important, because if you want cleaner grades where you don't have to tweak each and everything all the time, you can get away with a lot of it by using hue versus hue, especially if it's a really stark color. If your whole image is brown and then you got this poppy green, if your whole image is white and then you got this red, I will highly recommend using hue versus hue. And it can put you in the ballpark very easily, and it's also the key when it comes to working with 8-bit image and lower consumer level cameras. Nothing is better than using hue versus hue instead of qualifier, because it's just going to give you a cleaner image and blend it really nicely. Just a pro tip. And then last, let's look at the ultimate thing that everybody uses and abuses, and that is this guy, our friend right here. And you can just power windows, you can create vignettes, you can create whatever your heart desires. In this one, what I'm going to do is something different. So I'm going to take it, put it right there. I'm going to create a big circle like that, and then I'm just going to go in here, link them again and link them together, and then grab it and just pull this down, because I want to even out my image. So I'm looking at what my image looks like here, and I want it to look like that there too, and even it out. And now I can do a couple of different things. So I can track that. Not sure if there's enough data for it to track, but let's just give it a try. So let's track back, let's track forward. All right, it kind of did it. So it kind of did a good job. So track back, track forward, obviously these buttons right here. And now if we look at it, it's taken that sting out. I'm going to go to a different node so we don't have to look at the window. But like if I play it through, and if you see what it did quite a bit to just even out the image. And that was just one quick example of the power of Windows. And in DaVinci Resolve, if you're going to use Windows, really exaggerate the softness, or else your grade is going to look like an amateur, trying to do something cool. But once you blend it right, it's gonna just look amazing. I mean, just look at it. It looks so even, and that would just happen easily with the simplest little window. And power windows just go in many different ways, and we're going to be exploring all of that in the future lessons. That was just an overview on all these tools and how we're going to be using them and what they're used for and what are some of the general practices in the real world. Let's move on.